through this one. Okay, and why is it me? Okay, so let's see. Okay, so I think this is going on. So I went ahead and brought the images right here. You know, just repeat the same process right here. Let's line them up right here, so you have the same alignment, I guess, right? So front, right, back, left. For right now, let's keep it simple. Again, later on, let's not get confused. This not properly arranged, and more importantly, always ask your instructors. You know, I mean, what exactly are they looking for? What they want? Okay, so we do need to have a top view so that we can see the project again, how it's organized, what's called the laid out, right, in terms of the playground. Now, this is a good time to show you guys or remind you guys about how to trim some of these images right here in Illustrator, right? Because again, it'll be I actually want to place, right, the plan, let's say right there. But again, what's happening? Well, it's trimming, right? It's overlapping. Right? You can see it's overlapping those two images right there. And again, I can go to arrange, send to back, you know, and I can kind of work that right there. But what's happening right here? And I don't know if you guys can see it, right? Yeah, why? What's special about these images right here? They have the opacity, the transparency. That means that I'm actually seeing through it. Okay, so cool, but no thank you, right? So what we actually want or need is to trim this image, okay? And just pay attention, right? If not, you know, I'll be right here. It's kind of like a three-step thing, okay? So you need the image that you're going to trim. You need an object to trim it with, and you need special command, which is another combo, right? Control 7. Yeah, Control 7. Right. Let me show you what I mean. So image that I want to trim, checked. Object that I wanted to trim with, right? I need to draw that. It could be anything, right? It could be a circle, it could be a square, it could be a hexagon, right? Let's start with the simple one. Let's do a square. Okay, so I'm going to select that square right there. I'm going to draw a square right on top of what I want to keep. Okay, it's okay if it covers it completely. It's okay if it's transparent. For right now, even better, right? So I wanna keep that right there, and I just want to make sure that I make this as big as I need it, which is kind of there. Okay, so image that I want to trim, checked. Object to trim with, checked. Now Control 7. Now the order of these things matter. Okay, so and I need to refresh myself. Let's see, is that how it works? Okay, correct. So select the trimming object first. Hold down Shift to select the image that you want to trim. Now they're both being selected. Now you can see they're both selected. And now we press Control 7.
Oh, Control 7?
Control 7. Control. Yeah. So let's go back. So that was with the square right there. All right. So again, and maybe I can change those attributes. Check this out. So I'm gonna flip this thing right here. All right. So I have now a black box with no fill. Okay. So I'm gonna draw another box right here. Maybe it helps us to see this better. So again, I'm draw a box of one I want to keep. Okay. So notice that I want to bring it just enough so that I frame the object, such as that right there. I can use my arrows to kind of shift it or move it. Okay, so I have that. Okay, but nothing has happened there because the image is still kind of like big. Right? So again, select the trimming object. Select it. Hold down Shift to select the image. Now the two objects are being selected, and now I press what's the combo? Control 7. Okay, this is called the clipping tool, if I'm not mistaken. Right? Clipping tool. Image trace. Clipping mask. It's called the clipping mask. Control 7 right there. Just in case, you know, Munoz, I didn't quite get it. You know, you can do a quick search on clipping mask. It's a pretty neat tool because, right? Let's say that I clip that on a form. Actually, let me make a copy of this. Actually, right? Let me bring this right here, and I'm holding down Shift. Alt Shift and scrolling down, making a copy right there. But it can be much more interesting if I actually select the pen tool and I can draw, right, actually a hexagon, more or less, right, like that. So you see that? So I can actually select that as my trimming object, hold down shift and select the image on the background, press Control 7, and it's trimmed like that. And again, what's neat, and maybe let me bring it out here so you can see the contrast rather. What's neat about this is that, you know, you can create a, well, but a more accurate outline on this right here. So, because again, let me bring this out here, right here. So let me do this one right here. So anyway, you can start doing things like that, right? So that's the Control 7 right there. So whichever one you want to do, that's fine, right? Either of them will work. The idea though is to trim that excess that we had right here at the end, right? The white excess that we have right there. So can delete that right there. Okay. So we have done that, right? So this is now what kind of view? Top view. Correct. Double click that right there. Top view. Escape right here. Whoa. And bring this out right here, and we have that. Now notice, again, without getting too much into it, what we did was a clip-in mask. What does that mean? It actually means that the full image is still there. Okay, that's why when I, you know, if I double click on this, the full image is still there. And again, you know, later on I'll explain more about clipping mask, but I actually can move this and just select that as what I want to clip, right? I can go into here and, you know. Anyway, let's not get sidetracked, maybe. There we go. All right, yeah, it's clipping masks. Clipping masks are awesome. They're super helpful. Let's just familiarize with them in this project right here. So we'll do the same. All right, we'll bring down the opacity of this guy, right? 60 for right now. I think that's fair. Perhaps even more for that top view. But let's go onto the top view right here. Select the objects and the special command, make to D. Okay. So again, we hit OK. And processing. We want to scroll out, scroll in. And it's there. So we type group, bring it out to the side, and we have that right there. Okay, so I can select it, export, enter. It is. Good call right there, Julia. But I just want to show you guys how to actually, you know, get rid of it. Maybe on Illustrator, you're like, oh man, I forgot to turn it off, right? So good. Testing you guys. Julia, on it. Yes, good job. Huh? Good job, partner right there. So top, line work, export, make sure that all our settings are correct. Okay. Folder, midterm, top, open this thing up. Okay, because yeah, I mean, okay, like, oh man, maybe I forgot. You know, you can either just remove it right here and delete it, which, you know, that works. You know, then select that right there, Control G, Control Copy for copy, Control V, VV right there for paste. Right, there you go. Nice, so we paste it. Now again, I like to find a corner right where I can align it more or less. Say there. And scale it up there, and it's a, you know, trial and error. You fix it a little bit, then you try again, send these lines to black, all right, and you know, yeah, there we go. Okay, and again, you know, you can zoom in there a little bit. Make sure that, you know, we can scale this up correctly. It's kind of like you're sizing it, right? Like, all right, and I'll use this right here. Scroll. Have background music. It's like that means we're in midterms, guys. When you hear that music, we're in production mode right there. And whatever helps us stay awake, right? Some cumbias. What is that? It's like, huh? Sure, we'll take it, right? So there you go. Okay. Now, on this top drawing, I do want you guys to label it, right? I mean, you know how you guys, I think, Bibi, I remember yours, you had themes for, I guess, names of your zones or magic land or whatever it was.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right? What were some of the names?
Looking at the stars.
Looking at the stars. All right, we'll do that one. All right, I remember that one. Looking at the stars. So I want you guys to label a number of things right here on your drawings, particularly your entrances, right? And the areas that you have right there, okay? So let's create a new layer right here. Labels. Actually, that should not, title. Let's see, let's change the labels to drawing titles, and let's create a new layer now that it's labels, so that we label the drawings. Okay, and I make that layer active right there. So so the best way of doing this is with the pen tool right here, and let's say this is looking at the stars right here. All right, so I pick a point, pick another point, and I want to use my smart guides right there so that it's aligned right there, and I draw that. Okay, notice that it's still active right there. I just go to the selection tool right there, and I get that. Okay, now, yeah, right? Fernanda's all confused, like, what is that? Well, that's supposed to be an arrow, except that, okay. Yeah, look at the attributes, right? It has a fill, but it has no stroke. Now you see this little arrow right there. If I flip that, it creates just the line. And that's actually kind of important, so that you know that even if the form is not close, right, what's close, it will color it, even if it's missing certain areas. So it's kind of important to know, right? So we have that. We have the arrow. Now, well, we actually don't have an arrow. We have a set of lines. We need the arrow. Okay. So how do we do that? We select the line. We go to stroke. Okay. And down here, what does that say? Arrowheads. Okay. Now I still haven't quite figured out which one is which. I think it depends which side you start to draw on, which one is which. But just because this one's on the left side doesn't mean that it's necessarily the left and the right is the right. Sometimes we get lucky. Let's see. There's a number of arrows right here. I have my favorites. You have yours. I like this tiny one right there, number 10. All right. So I click that, and it brings that. If at any point or case, right, they are wrong on the size of orientation, you click right here, swap start and end, and it sends us to the other end. Okay. Now, I mentioned this because I see it. By default, the arrow points to the object, not the title. I know sometimes it can be, well, you know, I mean, I'll put the title right here. So that's the idea, okay? So now let's add the title. All right, let's bring a type tool. Let's do a little box right there, right? And we have that. Now, what was this? Looking at the stars. You guys see that, right? I have to do double. So it's looking at the stars. Okay. So we have that, except that it's quite big. And so I think this doesn't have to be anything bigger than a 12. Let's say a 12. Looking at the stars. So again, always try to keep these text boxes as big as they need to be. You know, you can start doing that, but hey, what happened to the rest? It's there. It's just hidden. Okay. Now, I don't know. It's looking at the stars. Can you understand that? What is it? Is it a game or is it a? How are you? You know what I mean? Like, what do you mean looking at the stars? Yeah, right. So you had your, I think it was the dodecahedrons. You have them all lined up, or I guess in a radius, so that they formed a star, right? And then you could lay down and look at the star. But I guess what I'm talking about is like, can we maybe add something else that allows? So it's in a space, it's in an area, you know. How do we label this, right? Because okay, looking at the stars, like, what do you mean, right? So looking at the stars. Okay. Or yeah, I mean, yeah. Looking at the stars. Let's go. Well, let's go with that, right? So sitting. All right. Looking at stars, sitting area. Although you could be laying down, so that's why. But I mean, just think about, you know, I mean, again, it's like, what is it, right? I mean, like playground or game or. Fernanda, this is well, it depends what kind of playground, right? I mean, wouldn't that romantic, right? Looking at the stars, romantic areas. What? All right, moving on. Yeah, yeah, a little bit there. Right. So, just one more thing, right? I mean, in this case, right? Yeah, that's a tiny little arrow, you know, cute and all. But again, sometimes you might need to increase the size. Just know that that's again under stroke, arrowheads, scale. Right now it's at 100%. If we do 200, let's see how big that is. Okay, so we bring that right there. Okay, it's not that bad. So if you press Control 0, all right, we go to our view. So can you guys start seeing, you know, how this starts turning into an architectural presentation? I mean, it's not only about the design, but it's communicating the design. Okay, so let's go over here. Let's say that, you know, this is my entrance. Okay, I'm going to, sure, let's do another arrow. So again, to do an arrow, you need a line. Okay, so I do a small line right here, and I'm gonna do it an arrowhead. Maybe I'm gonna use now a different one, maybe a chunky one over here. And I'm gonna do this, you know, 200. All right. Huh? You don't like that one? Well, it's okay. You know, it's okay. It's okay. It's my project. It's my project. I'll judge your arrowheads. No, that's good though. I like that you're like, nah. That's good. You have to kind of like develop that kind of like criteria right there. So I just copied that text box right there, and you know, I just created that area. I'm gonna call this entrance. Okay. All right. So that's why, right? I mean, again, I'm not necessarily labeling a specific. I'm saying like, hey, entrance this way. Like just that's why. But sorry if my arrowhead's down. You know. Yeah. And now it makes sense. Now it makes sense. Okay. Too quick, huh? Too quick. No. Give my arrows a chance. Give them a chance. I'll grow on you. There's a reason, guys. There's a reason. Okay. So let's do that. All right. What's going on? Oh, aren't we all in a diaper spring break? No. Brian, like, no. No, we are. Sweet tonight. There you go. All right, guys. Right. All right, guys. We're almost there. I'm almost there. Okay, we have a few more time right here of class. Okay, so let's do this. All right, let's do 2 more images right here. I'm going to take you through them real quick. The first one, right, if we go back right here, so we took care of the elevations, top view. The next one is the axon, which is the axonometric. Okay, so I think most of you guys already worked on all of these views, at least by hand. Okay, in Studio One. You know, if you were in Myers, my class, or you know, or Lindstrom, right? I mean, you guys worked on those. Okay, now. The reason why we, you know, make you go through this exercise by hand, you know, sometimes call it a nightmare or whatever, right? Is so that you can understand the relationship between the analog and the digital. Right? It's important that you understand the logic and basic rules behind this so you can do it by hand. But it's also important that you give it value, right? That you can do all of this with a computer, right? But until you don't know what it takes to do it by hand, you don't really appreciate it, kind of thing. Yeah. So here we go. Right, so again, we're going to select the object right there, zoom extend. Now, we go into your views right here, set view, and we go all the way right here into the isometric, right? And there's already some settings for you, which again, technically speaking, right, the isometric is an axonometric drawing. Kind of like a square is a rectangle, but a rectangle is not a square, right? So, by, you know, technically speaking, you're looking for an isometric. Sometimes we just call it an axon, right? But in this case, right, it's called the isometric. Now you just pick a point right there. Now notice now that it has the north, northeast, northwest, southeast, southwest. Okay, not front, right, front back, etc. Right. So just go through them. I mean, notice how it changes your things right here. In this case, I want to kind of frame this entrance on the front right there, so that we more of a southwest, if I'm not mistaken, right here. So isometric southwest, actually southeast. Set view, isometric southeast. Okay, sort of like that. Actually, I like more the southwest. No. Actually, southwest will be. All right. I guess because we're in the southwest. Okay, so I'll do that. Now you may not necessarily be able to tell, right? But that's not on an axon, right? Notice that your screen kind of changes, but the way to actually find, you know, notice it is this axis right here, and that's the, again, I don't know if you remember on your axon when you're doing by hand, right? You take your plane, you rotate it 45 degrees, you start projecting the lines, you know. Right? Where you guys like, I don't know what you're talking about, right? That's long and forgotten. As soon as I turn that in, I'm like done with it, right? But that's what I'm saying, right? It's important that you understand these logics, right? So you can, you know, later on work on or manipulate. More important is that you can later on manipulate what's going on here. Okay. So long story short, we have our view. So again, set view, isometric, southwest. Now, some of you guys, I don't know why, you will not get this menu right here, right? You go into view, set view, and isometric will not be there. I haven't really figured out why. That's okay. If you actually just type isometric, right, isometric, you have that option right there. You can select which one you want to do. In this case, again, the southwest. And that was not southwest. That's the southwest, and that's it. Okay, so should you not have it on your menu right there, know where you can find it. I'm going to zoom select it right there. Again, same drill, view, capture to file, okay. And then look at this, guys. So many images now. We have so much content we have covered today. Axonometric. All right, save. Okay, so what we're here already, right? I mean, we can make our make 2D, right? We have our view already nicely framed. We have everything set up. So just select it, make 2D, enter, make 2D, okay. Right? Very important. Before you click on anything else, first go immediately to your top view and find that and group it. Right? Again, as soon as you click out of it, you run the risk of moving stuff around. Okay, so select that object right there, export. Sorry, guys, that's like quinceañera time or something. I don't know. Alright. Hey, but keeps us going, right? So yeah, that's right. Don't stop. Don't stop, guys. Alright. So so select a name right there. So delete the top. I'm just gonna call it Axon right there for facilities, right? Axon, line work. Save. Click OK. Okay. So I'm not going to overlap them right now, just so that we can I just want to cover two more things right here, but I'm just gonna place them so that I can keep the space, right? So that I can plan again. So do that. That's my accent. Again, maybe just bring the opacity right here for right now. Two more things. I want us to do at least one perspective. I know I have two perspectives, but even that, I'll simplify it, right? Let's get one. If you can fit two, we'll see that right there. But I want us to see how that behaves, right, in terms of creating the view. Now, notice that whenever you set your view to this isometric, it keeps it that way. And I don't know if you can see, but things get a little bit blockier because you're on isometric view, kind of like Lego view, or right, or like Minecraft view, right? Whatever that game or something. Right. So make sure that you go back. All right, set back your view to perspective. I don't know if you look at my screen, right? So things change, and again, maybe you see it, maybe you don't worry about it, but just make sure that you go back and change your view to perspective so that you can create a perspective. Now, you know how on your exercise, which again I started going through some of those came out really nice. Some of your exercises now starting asking you guys to frame this view, right? I mean, this kind of views with objects on the back, or what alignments in space, or constraint of axis, or the kind of like the king with the throne and the view, right? And you guys were capturing those views that kind of like helped me be there, like inside of the model. I want us to capture at least one of those views that like you're inside of the playground, right? So it would be something like that. And that was part of that whole exercise that you guys did over there, learning how to capture views, how to manipulate the camera, and how to move stuff around, right? Very simple concepts. Now, in order to do that, you see how, again, I can rotate right here. I'm using the dynamic zoom right here, which is control, right? And then right click and scroll in and out, right? And I frame that. Now, it looks great, beautiful, but again, I still see stuff right there on the back, and you ultimately don't want to have that, okay? So, bear with me. We have this command, right, that I don't have to delete things. Hide. Okay, so I can select all of this and I can type hide, right? And stuff goes away. Right? I'm hiding it. Now, before I forget how to let you know how to bring it back, let me show you. Right? Let me show you. Right? Let's show. Right? So show, enter. Right? Very helpful commands again. That again, maybe it's not about layers, right? Because I mean, oh man, which layer is that? It's kind of like too hard to know, right? So I can select this right there, hide, enter. All right. Now, if I go back, select that, zoom selected, go back, rotate right here, frame my, and I guess let's do somewhat the entrance, or find that exciting moment right there where I can appreciate some think about it if you're creating a brochure for playground and like, oh my God, look at this, looking at the star things or whatever, right? I mean, this entrance, all right? So let's say it's that view right there. Okay, good. So we have set our view, right? Now let's save it. This is super important. Okay, it might not seem like a big deal, but let's save it. So if we go to set view, right, you have all of these views. Look familiar?
Mm-hmm.
Top, bottom, left, right, front, back, perspective, ISO. Now on the back and the bottom it says name views. I can create my own view. Right? So if I click there, right, and I click on this icon right here, say as perspective. Let's call this perspective 1. Okay. Notice that it saves that view, right? So if I rotate now and do whatever, right, and I double click on this one, it brings me back to that view. Or if I don't have that menu right here and I rotate, I go back to this menu right here, set view, and I have my perspective one right there. Okay, so think about it as you taking a photograph somewhere. You take a tripod and you set your camera right there and you leave it there. I mean, it's safe. Rather than going somewhere taking a photograph and then trying to go back and trying, right, where was I standing? How high was my phone? Where was it? Right, you fix it. And again, you can save it right here. So that's really important. Right, so you're saving your view. Okay, let's try to do this one more time. View, captured to file. Okay. Perspective. This is the last image that we're going to bring here. The last thing that I want to show you guys is how to add some silhouettes, right? Some people just for scale. All right, so I bring that up. Make 2D. Now that's what's neat about this as well, that I can make a 2D out of a perspective. And in order to do this, right, I just try to select everything that is on my screen. That's why it's also important that I hide what's behind it, so that if when I do this selection right here, I don't select stuff that is behind it, right? So right click. Now actually this is where it's going to help, that it gives me the box right there, the scene silhouette. So I click OK. All right, go to my top right here and group, and I get that right there. Neat, right? So let me just do an export of this one. All right, so let's do that, and then perspective, line work. So you see how now it's a system, right? I mean, it's kind of like, you know, repetition, right? Okay, boom, same. Okay, so we do that. Okay, come back over here, file, place. And again, because you do a file place doesn't mean that it's embedded, okay? So I do a place, select the image, and I want to what? Embed. All right. So again, I make this smaller right here, right there. And just make this 60 right here. Let's open this file right here, perspective line. Now this is where it actually kind of helps to, let's see how the frame works with that. So I'm going to group it, control copy. It's my board. And bring this over here. Let's see how good it kind of lines up with the image right there. So select that. Okay. So it lines up pretty good. Now I just need to kind of move stuff around. Remember, select your lines. You guys will do a much better job than me at lining this thing up. Right. Range, send to back. I'm just trying to pick the lines. Okay. So layers, right? Layers, super important. Right now that image is on the wrong layer. It's on labels. So again, select that image right there, drag it to image. There we go. Now I can select the line work, double click, black lines. Okay, we have that. Now I would actually double click on this group and delete the box right there. Kind of looks nicer without that frame right there. Okay. Lastly, let's just add some people. Right. I can upload this for you guys. I mean, it has already some silhouettes right there. Just know that, you know, you can run some searches, right? I think I did free vector people, and just be careful what kind of site you end up with, right? Free, a lot of them are going to claim free, right? So you see all of this. Now it's important that it's a vector, so that you don't have a background, right? Let's try to do now, you know, realistic people, not cartoony. So for example, I don't know, Shutterstock. I think this one's an okay, although some of them you might have to create an account. Let's see. See, there you go. Right, so we don't have time for that right now. So anyway, I found this one over here. Well, oh no, I already downloaded it. So you open this up right here, and say this guy right there. Control copy. Right, midterm board. Come over here. I would definitely create a new layer for it, right? Paste, and we have that. Now, for these, definitely do add an opacity, and say, so they look kind of like a ghost or something like that, right? But that's kind of the idea. Right, that's kind of the idea. You don't want it to be too much, rather. And you know, I'll just leave you guys homework, just how to work with the scale. Okay, think about the scale. Okay, so what size is a kid? What size is my structure? I mean, and how does those work right there? So let's do a file save.
So what does this do?
This is due Friday. Print it.
Are they gonna be like on the page?
20 by 20. Okay, so Wednesday you're gonna have the entire class to work on this. You bring your laptops or work at the lab, so I can assist you. But Friday before we leave, we're going to tape up our boards right there on the back. Okay. Anytime Friday, right? You have Friday to work on this. Actually, I might need to take that back before 2 p.m. because I have my Studio 3 review at 2 p.m. So I can be kind of back and forth. So Friday before 2 p.m. we need to print. And if you have not printed before, this is not just any printing. This is actually a plot. Okay. So just give yourself time if you have not done it before. They're very helpful at the print center, and some of you guys already have, right? So for media and whatnot. But just give yourself some extra cushion right there. That's a good start. Well, and that's kind of what I'm. Follow this, and later on we'll talk about if you want to change stuff up. Okay. All right, guys. Yes, name, and let me go ahead and add that right now. And we have that right there. Okay, so file save. Okay. Well, let's see.